Well, Chris, in terms of strength of squad this weekend, how strong will it be?
It'll be strong in terms of our young players. We think that we've got a few guys who have had 2 or 3 years in the system that haven't had much exposure to AFL football, but are ready to perform at least at this level. In terms of our experienced players, we'll be a little lighter on there. A few things contribute to that. The late finish to last season, the compromised format in round 1. So I think we'd like to think the teams are pretty balanced, but on paper, to people that don't know the Geelong list all that well, it'll probably look pretty inexperienced.
Obviously, no guys like Barker and Podsiadly that are still injured, but some of your other bigger names that won't play this week.
It's a big list. Yeah, it's a big list, so I won't give you too many for fear of leaving some off. But the injured guys, Menzel, Vardy, Podsiadly, Wojcinski, Varco, are certainties not to play. Mitch Brown won't play. Alan Christensen won't play. Josh Cowan won't play.
There's a lot of talk, a lot of people looking forward to seeing Billy Schmetz and also Oren Stevenson play. Will they both play this week? Yeah,
they will. Yeah, and we're excited about that as well. Billy hasn't played a lot of footy full stop, even as a junior, so if his training form can be replicated on a bigger stage, then we'll be very excited. And Oren will play significant game time in the ruck. We're confident again that he can do the job, but until we see him against genuine opposition, we're still not sure.
What sort of role would Billy be likely to play?
Well, he's a pretty flexible type of player. He's your 190 centimetre sort of utility, so he's got good speed and agility, so he can play through the midfield. But early on, we see him more as a defender than a forward. But longer term, we'd like to think that he'd be comfortable in all 3 positions of the ground.
How's this pre-season been for you? Obviously, last year you were getting to know everyone and vice versa. How different has it been second pre-season in?
No, not too different. I mean, once we got through sort of the getting to know each other process 12 or 13 months ago, the pre-season last year's looked pretty similar to this one. We're not making any promises. We're comfortable with our preparation. We think we've put ourselves in a pretty good position to compete, but we just don't know for sure. And it was the same last year. We think that we're going to see some young players over the next couple of weeks that hopefully will press their case for selection early on. But until we get into the season proper, I'm not going to speculate as to how we're going compared to last year.
When do you expect some of your injured players to come back, such as Pods?
We're hopeful that Pods can play some footy before the season proper.
And with the others, like...
You name them and I'll... Varco?
Yeah.
At the moment, we're hoping he could be back. It was probably a 10-week injury, so I think he's maybe 4 weeks in.
He's going well?
Yeah, he's going well. All our injured guys are going well, but once they're sort of longer than 4 weeks, it's really hard to speculate as to how they're going. We think they're on track, but until they get within a month of being able to play, it's not even worth putting a date on it. But the other longer term guys, Menzel and Vardy, but don't even ask me about them until almost halfway through the season.
Have you been able to narrow down what Wojo's problem is? The club not guarded what it is, but
the club's guarded, are they?
Well, a couple of assistant coaches I've spoken to have said we're not absolutely sure of where it was at and what it is.
They've been trained well.
Well, yeah.
No, he's got a bit of a sore foot. That's not a long-term issue. We're hopeful that he'll be able to play some footy, hopefully before round 1. But round 1's not the finishing line either. We're really confident that Woj can give us 18 to 20 games this year, and I'm not really too fussed where those games come. I prefer them to be at the end of the year, to be honest.
So it's not plantar fasciitis, that was the talk that it could be that?
Oh, he's got a sore foot. Yeah, it's not. It's not plantar fasciitis, no.
Do we see some guys in different roles this week, Chris? Obviously it's a chance to experiment this format. Do we see a few guys that played a lot of footy last year in different roles Friday night?
Not too much early. No, we'll be with our experienced players, we'll be pretty much as you saw last year, but we don't consider it experimentation, but our younger guys will be playing positions that people outside of Geelong haven't seen before, but we've been working on that for a long time, so no, I don't think you'd be too shocked with where our players line up.
What was made of how you rotated your squad last year? Do you think you'll do a similar thing again, and could it go even further, the demands of the game getting even higher, that you might sort of make more changes week per week this year?
I don't think we'll be making more changes as I stand here now, but we made decisions last year on what was best for our list at the time, and also what was going to be best for our team in sort of 2014 onwards, and we'll continue to do that this year. It's really hard. You can be as planned as you like and things change week to week. So while we did have a long-term plan last year, it was quite fluid from week to week, and that'll be the same. I'm wary of sort of talking about it too much because I don't want to have to stand up here in 6 weeks and defend why we did things differently, because it is just so fluid.
What sort of observations did you draw from watching the last week's action? I mean, is there any club that stood out for you, and is there anything tactically, say Hawthorn kicking away the 5 goals and then turning off and turning back on, or the way clubs rested players from one game to the next or whatever?
We didn't take too much notice into how clubs handled the format. I think we're pretty comfortable with the plan we've got in place there, and it's match practice for us. I'm not sure how the other clubs approach it necessarily, but 2 40-minute games is very much an extension of our training, nothing more than that. In terms of the trends of the game, the thing that stood out to me the most was the high standard, particularly the Friday night game. That's as high a standard footy as I can remember in February. And I think especially the clubs that didn't play finals last year are in pretty good shape, and they're going to be really competitive in the early rounds of the season. And you mentioned Hawthorn as well. I mean, we know they're innovators. They've obviously got a very strong coaching group. They're going to know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and we'll keep a close eye on them because we're not arrogant enough to think we know it all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there was no intra-club per se, like other clubs have had, with cameras down there watching fans and stuff like that. Is there a reason why you can go down that path this year?
Probably the reason that we will leave a few of our experienced players out this week. We just think that extending our pre-season training program is the priority. So if we play games earlier, then that reduces our training time. So we'd prefer to make the most of that time. We think we train at a pretty good level anyway, and for most of our guys, 2 or 3 pre-season games before round 1 is enough.
Players talk about, obviously, wanting to get into footy. Your coach is the same. You sort of now, fantastic, we're about to, bounce the ball and hear the siren and really get something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, we're only really guessing through the pre-season. I think I'm really conscious of not making big statements or making any promises through the pre-season, because the reality is we just don't know. So I'm really excited about testing what we've trialled over the pre-season in a kind of, I call it a semi-real situation. We've got some young players that we're really hopeful about, but we just don't know. So we'll put them up on a bigger stage and see what they can do.
A couple more guys.
Any of the draftees from the 2011 drafts going to play Friday night?
We haven't had match committee yet, but no, I wouldn't expect to see those guys.
Is there a different feel now with Selwood?
As captain, I'm not sure yet. Not through the pre-season period. Once we see him play, I'll be in a better position to judge that. But I'm almost positive that it'll just be he'll just perform pretty much the same role that he performed last year.
Given what you said before about how high the standard was Friday night, how much does this group need to improve to stay at the top?
I'm pretty conscious that everyone improves. I really honestly believe that every club gets better year to year. It's just all relative. So it's very hard to put a number on it, but I think I said this last year, if we roll out, what we rolled out last year, we'll get beaten. So no one at Geelong kids himself about that. We're aware that there are a lot of mitigating circumstances that would count against some improvement, but we've just got to fight and work as hard as we can to make sure we improve somehow.
For the players that have been here throughout most of the success, is trying to win, go back to back a little bit of an added motivation for them, given they've tried a couple of times and they haven't quite got there?
I don't really believe in that either. I think our players will try as hard as they possibly can to have success this year, and I'd be amazed, knowing our guys the way I do now, that they need some extrinsic or extra extrinsic motivation. I just don't think that that's a factor at all.
Is it a bit bizarre that you guys had such an awesome finish last year, yet Hawthorn and Collingwood are being tough in the grand kind of...
No, I think that's logical. I don't have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it this time last year. We've taken, or we're about to take, Ling, Mooney, Melbourne, Ottens out of our side. You know, and I stand up here saying that we have to improve. That makes it incredibly hard. I think Hawthorn were an exceptional team last year. I can't remember a side losing 4 games for the home and away season and not finishing top 2. They were 3 or 4 points away from a grand final. They've got a couple of the best players in the competition. I think it all makes sense. I think Collingwood, haven't really lost too many important players. I thought they were the best team for virtually all the season last year. So that makes sense as well. No, I don't have any problems with that.
You mentioned those 4 that have gone, and I know you haven't played your games yet, but have you really noticed their absence sort of around the club so far over summer?
We're in a period of significant transition. The team and the club is evolving a little bit quicker than it has in the previous 5 or 6 years, so you definitely notice it. But the more experienced players will say it every year. The younger players seem so much younger, and I need to keep reminding them the younger guys are still the same age. Those 17, 18-year-olds coming in, it's that the guys at the end are getting a little bit older. So it feels different, but we embrace the change.
Sorry, we're needing down to...
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. I've said enough. Yeah, one more.
Sorry, just on talking about the older players, Chappie said in an interview recently he was at half hour last year, he had groin problems, he had trouble getting out of bed at times. He's getting towards the end of his career. Is he someone who's really pulling out one last effort for this season?
Oh, you'd have to ask him that. But if he was at 50% last year, then I'm really looking forward to this year. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.